Isaac, thanks for giving me the opportunity to interview you. I'm sure the class is going to love learning about your life through your perspective.
Anything for an old friend like you, Mason.
Much love, Newt. After all, it's for the kids to learn, isn't it?
That's right.
Well, I suppose I'll ask you a big question to start. What would you say the greatest achievement you had was in your lifetime?
Great question. It's quite hard to decide as I was revolutionary in many different sciences, but I would have to say the invention of calculus was the greatest achievement of mine. I say this because calculus wasn't just a new form of math back in the day. Calculus contributed not only math, but to many different sciences such as engineering, economics, and physics.
I would have to agree. A lot of things in the world depend heavily on the discovery of calculus. Another question I have goes back to the basics of your life. Could you tell the class about how and where you grew up?
Why, of course. I suppose this will be a long answer, but it all started in 1643 when I was born to my mother Hannah in the small town of Woolsthorpe, England. Sadly, my father had passed away 3 months prior to my birth, which was something that heavily changed the course of the rest of my life. You see, because my father died, my mother remarried to a man that did not want baby Newton in his life. This meant that I had to be sent away to my grandmother, who lived out my childhood. As sad as that may be, I would say that it only affected me positively, as I grew up being taught great manners and learning how to take care of myself.
Wow, that never gets old. I'm truly sorry. But I do believe that it shaped you into who you are today.
You're correct on that. Also, I think you should know that my mother came back when I was around 11 because her second husband had passed away.
Wow. Well, going off that, when in your childhood did your family send you off to attend school, and where did that leave you for college?
Well, around the age of 11, I was sent to King's School in Grantham for many years. That was all great. However, when I was 16, I was requested back to my home to work on the farm and support the family. I tried it out and knew that farming wasn't for me, so I was allowed back to the King's School until my collegiate journey began. As of how that went, I enrolled into Cambridge's Trinity College in 1667. I loved the academics, but I felt that most of the students there were too focused on excitement and drinking, while I was just trying to learn.
That is completely understandable.
Yup, it was super chill, until the Great Plague of London forced me to go home into a quarantine. This was the best thing that had ever happened to me, as weird as it might seem. This is because I studied and experimented for hundreds of hours during quarantine and discovered most of the things that I am well known for today.
Wow, I guess that can transition us to the last few questions I have, which are all going to be about your accomplishments in the later years of your life.
Sounds good, homie.
So, could you give us a brief overview of the two most well-known scientific discoveries that you made, which happened to be during that quarantine?
Why, of course. During this quarantine period, when I was around 22 years old, I invented the renowned calculus and also rejected a then accepted idea about how light worked. As for calculus, I'm sure that the class knows how important it is, right?
Yes.
Second, I changed the idea of how light was produced, which I deemed the corpuscular theory. My theory proposed that light was a stream of a large number of particles known as corpuscles. This theory was able to explain my refraction and reflection, which was a huge deal back in my day.
Awesome. Absolute genius. All right, last question. Are you ready?
Kind of, IDK.
I'll take it as a yes. Could you finish this interview off by telling us briefly about the rest of your life? Like if you had any significant others and where you spent the later years of your life?
Ah, yes. Well, sadly, I never married. I was super focused on research and science my whole life to really get into that whole thing.
Hey, I don't blame you. Ladies are confusing, man.
For real. But yeah, to continue, the rest of my life was pretty much dedicated to science and research. But I did end up living in a nice place with my niece near Winchester, England.
Nice. So not to make it awkward, but how did you know, go out?
I love this one. It really brings me back to the days of terrible medical care. Honestly, it wasn't cool, but I died in my sleep on March 31st, 1727. Not a bad lifespan for that day and age, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I would love to talk again soon. Later, Isaac.
Later, Mason. Shout out room
10.
10. Please give Mason an A-. Why, of course!